Hello and welcome to, or back to, the Paws in Pursuit podcast. We are on episode 2 already. That is very exciting. So today, as promised, is a Q&A. So I asked you all on Instagram a few days ago to send me questions to answer on the next episode, and you did not disappoint. I think I have 17 points. Hang on. So I've got my little notebook here, because my phone's recording the podcast. My GoPro now, hopefully you notice the better quality than my old DSLR. So my GoPro's recording the video for YouTube. So I have nothing to look at for the questions, so we're going old style. Old style? Old school. So yeah, I have these questions written down and we have 17 points. So that is going to last us a whole episode. So let's just dive straight in. So the first question I got, and I got 2 of these questions, so it's obviously quite a popular topic, is how have you worked through Arrow's confidence? What you've done is amazing. Thank you very much to who wrote that. And then I got another one saying, how did you get Arrow over his nervousness? I also have a scaredy lockdown dog. So yeah, that's literally what it is. It's lockdown. As he's growing up, he just didn't get the socialisation, the exposure, things to build his confidence. So he's had a lot of nervous issues, as you've seen. Sorry if I'm out of breath, by the way. I do have a bit of a cold, so just out of breath. Right. I'm more out of breath now recording this, talking, than I am after running Arrow. Anyway, so yeah, how have I worked through his nervousness? So the first point I've written down I think is important to talk about is exposure. So as soon as I could, obviously there's nothing I could have done about it until lockdown was over, but as soon as I could, I just got him out and about, got him seeing people, things, environments. I had as many people around to the house as I could. I remember I had my trainer Lucy and her son round the first day we got Arrow, just, in the house, just to make him more aware of other people and things and smells and sights and ages of human and stuff like that. So yeah, exposure. And as far as agility goes, just, again, taking him to different venues, so different training venues, different show venues, just exposing him to what he was scared of. I know that sounds brutal, but it's the only way for him to get confident. Like, think about it, the more you do something, the more confident you get doing that thing. It's like me with the podcast, say. My first episode was probably a bit terrible because I was like, oh, what is happening? What is this? But now, the more I do, the more you get into it, it becomes second nature, more natural. So same for dogs. So the more he has to do something he's afraid of, the more he's likely to realise that, oh, this doesn't hurt me, this is fine. Like, it actually is a good thing because I get my ball, someone's happy with me, it's fun. So yeah, just expose, push them through, make them work through that nervousness, and they will eventually just have to get used to it. And it does sound brutal, but it's just perseverance again, and it's so easy to give up. Like, it took ages for Arrow to get to where he has got to. He's over 3 now, and he's still nervous, but he's just a lot less nervous than he was before. He's constantly progressing, but yeah, just expose him to the fear of doing agility in the unknown environment. Masses of praise and reward. And that's my next thing, is positivity, confidence and energy. So by that I mean from you as the handler. So when I know Arrow's in a situation that makes him nervous, I have to be positive, confident, energetic, and give off an energy that makes him relax a little bit and think, oh, because dogs pick up on their handlers' emotions, so I need to be in a state of mind that makes him, think, oh, Summer's happy and relaxed, so thank God I can be. So, do you get what I mean? Because if I was uptight and nervous, he'll pick up on that and he'll be like, this isn't a safe place to be, I'm going to freeze up. So that is a big one. I had to be positive and confident with him, even when I felt like just going home and giving up because he wasn't giving me that energy back, and it's exhausting, I know, but yeah, so I just had to push through that for him, to give him the confidence so I portrayed what I wanted him to feel, if that makes sense. So I wanted him to be, loud, feeling happy, feeling confident, excited, enjoying agility. So what did I do? I was that, and then he sort of took that from me, in a sense, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's you have to be that energy for your nervous dog. And then the last one, which is just so simple, is time. Like, literally, I know it sounds so simple, and it's boring, and it's really, like, you just get fed up of waiting for it to happen, for it to click one day. You get out of bed thinking it's going to be the same as he always is, you know, it's going to be the same day as I had last weekend. But one day it does happen. I promise it will happen. Like, I've been there, and, you know, you just see it. You're like, oh my God, he's getting it. And it's slow, and it takes a lot of time, but it will happen eventually. Arrow is proof of that it does happen eventually. But you've just got to give it time. Like, these things aren't overnight. Dog training's not overnight, and building confidence isn't overnight in humans or dogs. You know, you have to just give it time and just keep doing your thing and being consistent over and over and over again, pushing through that exposure, show up with the same attitude, and just keep it going, and eventually it's going to work out. Like, your dog is going to he's going to be like, you know what, I've done this so many times that it's fine now. And that's as simple as it is. So just give it time. Just give it time, be positive, keep going. I know it's hard, but yeah, that is how I work through his nervousness. And he's still got a long way to go. Like, for example, he wouldn't run at all, would he? And then he decided that he'd start running the course. He loved it, but not the weaves. He wouldn't weave, would he? He was like walking through. If you haven't seen, go on my Instagram, Paws in Pursuit, look back at some of my, and TikTok as well, it's on there, that's a good one, of him weaving, and he just hated it so much. And again, make him weave. Every time I went in, I just ran him through the weaves, made him do it. He hated it, but I was like, yeah, good boy, such a good boy. Finish the run, ball, that's it. Do it every single time, and eventually he was like, oh, this is just the weaves, I can do this. And obviously I trained in the garden, different show environments, different training environments, I hired different fields to do it in, and eventually, there we go, he was like, I can do it, I can do this. But that didn't fix everything for him. He then has now decided he is nervous of the seesaw, which was always a bit iffy, but at KCI he flew it a few times. Then that'd he'd scare himself from flying off the end, and he would, and now he's sort of like, he doesn't want to go fully up it. Excuse me, I'm dying. Yeah, he creeps up it now. So again, I've still got these issues. It's a constant process, but progress is being made. You know, I've taken him to independent agility nuts to just do the seesaw. Like, literally, I think the most I got from one run, because you only get 60 seconds, is 4 goes on the seesaw, and put his target at the end and gave him his ball. And it's so, like, not boring, but it's all same old thing, repetitive over and over again. It's not like an attractive thing to do. Like, do you get what I mean? It's not sort of the fun stuff, but it's got to be done to build that confident foundation. So in the garden, I've got it set up right now, seesaw every day. I do like 4 again, and then go to agility nuts 4, loads of praise his ball, and it'll get it eventually. I know he will, because it's the same as the weaves, but it's just pushing through it. But yeah, so that is the first question. I believe I've covered everything. Like I said, if I answer any of these questions and you think I want to know more, you haven't answered everything, send me a DM on Instagram, comment down below on the YouTube video, anything, just ask me, and I'll just tell you, I'll DM you anytime. So the next point, again I got 2, is what made you want to do agility? And then someone else asked, what got you into agility? So pretty much the same question. So again, I think I said this a little bit in last week's episode, about, you know, where I've come from and stuff, but when I got Earl, I started him at an obedience club, and saw agility being held at that club, and I saw it and I was like, that is amazing. So obviously I wanted to do it then, and they asked if I wanted to try it out with Earl. I did, I loved it, and the rest is history, basically. But yeah, that's how I sort of got into actually doing it myself. But before that, and it sounds so funny, I already knew it existed. I read a book, I can't remember what the book was called, it was a kid's book, and it was about a girl who had like a little labradoodle, I think, and she trained it, and she did agility with it, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was in that book, and there were like little illustrations, and at this time I was like 6, 7, if that, and I just loved the thought of it, and I was like, oh my god, I want to do this in real life too. Like, that was the book. It was like a girl who wanted a dog and then got into agility. I need to find this book. Okay, right, I'll find this book, find out what it's called, see if I can get a picture, and next week's episode I will show you if I've been successful. So that was that. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I've got a tickle, I've got a frog. Anyway, Nintendogs. I bet a lot of you will know what I mean. On the little DS, Nintendogs, you look after your dog, you go in it every day, you care for it, it gets dirty, you wash it, you walk it. you take it to the gymnasium and you do agility. And you can compete on Nintendogs. And I was obsessed. I loved it. I was so good at it. And I was like, I want to do this in real life. So I already knew of it from that. And another thing, I've always been very sporty and competitive. So I've always done sports throughout my childhood. You know, school, out of school, everything. I've always been extremely into physical activity. I've always been really competitive. I'm going to just expose myself now. My parents used to have to stop playing board games with me because I was that competitive when I was like 5 that I'd just get into a right state if I lost. I'd be like, oh my god, no, I can't lose. And yeah, so I'm very sporty and competitive, and agility provides all of that adrenaline, you know, all the things I love. So yeah, that is what made me want to do agility and how I got into it, basically. And there are a few questions at the end that I know are more on my sort of past childhood, how I got into it when I got Earl stuff, so stay tuned to the end for those. So, number 3, would you ever own another Border Terrier for agility? Okay, some of these questions make me sound really brutal, but there is a good point behind all of my answers, I promise. So, honestly, no, I wouldn't own another Border Terrier for agility. I love Earl and Ethel with all my heart, and they've taught me so much. And I think if I didn't have Border Terriers as my first agility dogs, I wouldn't be as good of a handler as I am now. I wouldn't be as successful, and I wouldn't have learnt half the things I learnt with them. So I, again, wouldn't change anything, and I wouldn't want my first dogs in agility to be any other breed. But now I've had 2, and I've already experienced having 2, and 2 completely different Border Terriers as well. Like, they're both Border Terriers, but they're both so different. So you've got Earl, who's, you know, really nervous and timid. And honestly, I think Earl has helped me to get over Arrow's nervousness so much, because I already had to do it with Earl. And I was never quite as successful doing it with Earl, but I was young. I wasn't as confident in myself, in my handling, etc., in my skills as I am now. So I think that was a building block to help Arrow, you know, get over his nervousness now. So, you know, Earl was the stepping stone to that. If I hadn't had Earl, I don't know if I could have done it as well with Arrow, because it's the same issue, really. So, no, I wouldn't have another one for that reason, you know. But Ethel, I've achieved so much with Ethel, but I think it's different on the surface. Like social media, you post the good, you know, you don't post tons of the bad. I mean, I try to post everything as much as I can. I'm so sorry, it's just going to be me coughing through this whole thing. Hang on, I know how to fix this. Give me a second, have some water. Fingers crossed that sorts me out. But Ethel is nothing like Earl, same breed, different character completely. She loves agility, she always has done. She's not as motivated as Arrow now, but she was, for what she was, bless her, well, is. She's here with me now, look, if you're on YouTube you can see I've got a little guest. She's the sweetest, look at her, she's just sitting and listening to me, she doesn't care. Anyway, sorry if I'm boring you, Ethel, talking about you, ears are burning. But yeah, Ethel taught me, you know, she's feisty, she argues. She taught me the complete opposite of Earl, really. You know, Earl, they're just the complete opposite characters. So, again, I've learned so much from both of them. But training the Border Terriers wasn't as enjoyable as I find training Arrow for me, because they don't have quite the same attitude. And I just prefer working with Arrow to the Terriers. Like, I can't even put my finger on exactly why. It's mainly attitude of the dog. Like, just there's something about Arrow's attitude compared to the Terriers that just, we click more. It just feels more natural, more fun, you know. And I think, yeah, that's mainly why I wouldn't have another Border Terrier. Like, I've learned so much from Earl, and then I learned the opposite from Ethel that I did with Earl. But combined, they've given me the perfect knowledge for all my dogs in the future, including Arrow, you know, especially Earl. So, but no, I wouldn't want to go through that again with the Border Terriers, because I've already done it now. I've learnt my lesson. Do you get what I mean? Like, I've learnt the lessons from the Terriers. And honestly, I know it's not all about the success, obviously, but to some extent we compete to push ourselves to do well, to to try and reach the top. That's the fun of it, isn't it? Like, if we didn't want to do well, we would just stick to training agility. Does that make sense? Like, I think with Border Terriers, and no doubt you can get Border Terriers that can like win and reach the top. I'll give a shout out. I know Rachel Richardson has her Border Terriers are brilliant. I'm pretty sure she took them to the World Champs and did amazing years and years ago. She was the vet for the junior Team GBs when I was on them, and hers are amazing. So, you know, and there are Border Terriers now that I look at and I'm like, oh my god, they're so fast and tight and brilliant, and they've been trained so well. But at the end of the day, I think agility is progressing. You know, the speeds of dogs are progressing. The standard is progressing insanely, and courses are getting wider, more open. You know, and I think the way agility is going, it's more suited to different builds and types of dog that aren't Border Terriers. So like spaniels, collies, these crossbreeds. Does that make sense? I think that I'm asking you like you can tell me, but you know what I mean. But yes, so no, I wouldn't have another Border Terrier for agility, but I do love Border Terriers, and when I'm old and I just want a nice little pet dog to like exercise and stuff, I'll go back to Border Terriers. When I'm like old and crippled and can't do agility and retired, I'd love another one. Because look at her. Oh, she's brilliant. Anyway, so that is number 3. So, number 4. This is a deep one. Any regrets in your agility career? This is going deep, but I love this question. So yes, honestly, yes. Like, yes. 100%. I've got a few actually. I know that sounds sad, but don't we all? Like, don't we all have things that we've learnt from and look back on and go, oh, it would be so much better if I did this or that instead of this or that. So, my first one is a bit of a joke. Like, it's a jokey regret, because obviously there's nothing I could have done about it, but not starting sooner in agility. Like, I wish I'd discovered agility when I was under 12, so I could do, like, unders, 6 to 11 at YKC, because it's so much fun. Like, I love watching unders, and I just think it's great for, like, young children like that to be in that world and learn those lessons at that age. Like, the sooner you get into it, the better, I think. And I didn't get into it till, well, I got Earl when I was 8, so I was like 10, 11 when I got into the proper world of agility. And it's still brilliantly young, and it's still only 10 years into my life, but I would have loved to start right at 6, do you know what I mean? So that's, I don't even know if that's a regret, because there's nothing, I didn't know it existed until I knew it existed, but I would change that if I could. Like, I'd just sneak myself back a few years, but yeah. Water hasn't sorted me out, rip. Anyway, okay, second one, and again, it makes me sound bad, but again, I was so young and I didn't know, and I didn't know the consequences, or I thought I genuinely in my heart thought I was doing the right thing, and I had the best intentions. I was obsessed with Earl, and I still am, but like, as an 8-year-old girl, Earl was my entire world. Like, there was nothing else in my life that I loved like Earl. So the second one will be overtraining Earl almost. Like, obviously not on purpose, but when I was that young and getting into it, I was obsessed. And the club I started out at was a fun agility club. They were brilliant with me, really good. I loved it there. I was on the display team with him. But they trained him at medium. So I ran him at medium, and because I just discovered agility, I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. I want to do it all the time. So I'd do it at home. I'd make like jumps out of like buckets and brooms and stuff like that, and weaves out of like bamboo sticks, and I would just do it so often. And Earl loved it at the time. He was a little spring chicken. He was like, you know, I think he was 2, 3 when I like got into it properly with him. And yeah, but jumping him at medium and doing so much agility, and you know, I did like all the tricks with him, like a bit of heel whip to music with him, like jumping over my arms, on my back, through, you know, over my shoulders. He was doing a lot of high impact stuff, and I sometimes think he looks a bit stiff when he's walking around. I know he's an old dog, he's nearly 13, and that's probably normal, but at the same time I kind of think, you know, I just hope that hasn't given him like stiff joints, or, you know, because agility is really high impact, and obviously the older I get and the more I learn and research and get interested and just more aware of the world, you know, like for me, being into fitness as well, you know, running, jumping, it's all high impact, like on the joints and stuff, so that's kind of a regret. If I could go back now knowing that, I wouldn't do as much with Earl, I'd jump him lower, you know, I feel like he had too much impact, so that's a regret. But again, a bit like the first one, there's nothing I could have done. Like, it's not even like I was sat there as an 8-year-old thinking, do I do this or do I not? I just thought that I didn't know any other. So that's something. But again, I'm not kicking myself about these. I'm like, well, I tried. But that's just a thought. The next one is not leaving my old agility club to move to my current trainer, Lucy Norton, sooner. So I had quite a emotional connection with my old agility club because it was my first dog training club ever. So the actual first club I approached with Earl to ask if I could train with them said, no, you can't join us because you're too young to handle a dog. I was 8, 9, about 9. So they turned me away, and then I found my first fun agility and obedience club, and they welcomed me with open arms. They were like, yeah, you know, they were like my family at the time. They were like, the instructor, she was like my second mum, like she was brilliant. And they were all just so lovely with me. I felt like part of a little group. Every Thursday night and Sunday we'd go. I got on the display team. It was just a great time. But I think once I got Ethel, I wish I'd have, because I trained Earl with this first club. When I got Ethel, I wish I'd started Ethel with Lucy immediately. Like, I wish I'd left, because obviously I'd competed with Earl, so I knew of people in the dog world, agility, competitive agility space. But I stuck with my sort of old school club because I had emotional attachment in a way, because it was my first club. I was a child. I loved them all like family. But for my agility career, as far as regrets in your agility career, I wish I'd moved on sooner and started Ethel with Lucy, with Lucy's way of teaching instead of the old one, because, you know, and I did eventually, but Ethel got taught, you know, lawing through the weaves because it was the old club, you know, no contact criteria, stuff like that, which I just wish I'd sort of moved on quicker, because it would have put me a bit further ahead and prevented some of the issues I did encounter with Ethel and stuff. So that is a regret, but again, at the time, I was just a child. I didn't want to leave my old club, and it was brilliant, but I think that was my time to sort of move on and progress. But I sort of hung back. I was worried, do you know what I mean, about leaving what was comfortable. So yeah, join it. I wish I'd have pushed myself to go out of my comfort zone and do something new sooner. But yeah, so I think I've got one more. Oh, I've got 2 more. Why have I got so many regrets? Anyway, so the other one again ties in. Not being consistent with Ethel's contact criteria. So Ethel wasn't taught contact criteria at the old club. They just, you know, it wasn't for competing, so it wasn't an issue at all, obviously. But knowing I wanted to compete with Ethel, I didn't teach her a 2-on 2-off until she'd already done the contacts quite a few times without any criteria. Then when I did teach her a 2-on 2-off, I again didn't understand at the time, because I was younger and I hadn't been in agility. Again, a lot of it comes from experience. I didn't understand the importance of sticking to criteria all the time to get it in the dog's head. Like, I would, if she got the contact but didn't stop, I would just let her go in competition. Even at the competitions that are sort of, I don't want to say doesn't matter, but like smaller shows, you know, when I had probably not GB at the time, but like, say I had like British champs coming up at the weekend and a normal show 2 weeks before, I would still let her go on her not stop if she got the contact for that singular potential win. Do you get what I mean? Again, I'm asking you, don't know why, but yeah, now, like with Arrow now, I'm very, obviously it's hard because of Arrow's nervousness issues, I haven't wanted to be too strict with him all the time, because If I say no, you didn't stop till I said okay, get back on it. He goes, oh, sorry, and he shuts down, or he did. So it's dog dependent. But Ethel, being the feisty little argumentative dog that she is, I do wish that I'd made her stick to her criteria every time, because she's a pushy little dog, aren't you, Ethel? You're a pushy little dog. She's fast asleep. So with Ethel, I think that was important, and again, I didn't really know the importance of that at the time. But I think that would have made, because she did eventually end up losing her contacts pretty much. But she was obviously getting older. I knew I was going to retire her soon, so I didn't, I even tried retraining her running contacts, and I think that's the next one. Yeah, not training Ethel running contacts from the start. And again, I didn't know running contacts were a thing when I first taught her contacts, so what could I have done? So these aren't really as such regrets, but things I wish had wish had happened, even though there's no way they could have at the time, really, in my situation. But I wish I'd taught Ethel running contacts, because not only I think I just love them now, running contacts, they're brilliant, and I did want to compete Ethel at a high level, and I did achieve that. But I do think, again, the way agility is progressing, running contacts are important now, because dogs are faster these days, and if you've noticed, well, you will have noticed, but there's more dogs with running than not now, and it's those split seconds that count. Arrow's got them, and Ethel wasn't the fastest anyway, so really she could have done with that extra little few seconds, or second even, of time off her runs. And I also think that it's better for the dog's joints. So with Ethel, I spent my agility career with Ethel trying to get it to stop in a 2-on-2 off position. Dog walk's not such an issue, but A-frame and seesaw in the 2-on-2 off position. She's a little dog. She's like 6.5 to 7 kilograms of dog, of fluff basically. And I was getting her to go down a steep A-frame and stop in that position, nearly in a handstand position for her. And the seesaw, she'd stop, and the seesaw weight would just keep her back legs going up, and it can be dangerous. So again, that's just something I've learnt. So contacts with Ethel is a regret, but again, I can't really regret much of Ethel's career, because it was so phenomenal. Like, it was the making of me almost. You know what I mean? So yeah, these are more not such regrets, just things I wish if I could go back now I would, but I'm not kicking myself over them. So that's that question, nice and deep. Thank you who asked that. That was actually brilliant. I love that. Number 5. Oh, I've already been talking half an hour, only on 5. This is great. Okay. So number 5, best way to teach a dog to weave: channels, straight up channels. Only ever taught Arrow on channels. Earl and Ethel were taught lawing, and it just took so much longer to train. It doesn't teach them any independence in the weaves. So obviously lawing, you have to be right there to guide them. Then what? Then you have to gradually move away, and they get confused. Also, Ethel weaves with her head up like this, and it's not the end of the world, but Arrow, taught on channels, does it with his head sort of down in a drivey position. So I think that position that Arrow uses to weave is, again, it creates more drive, whereas Ethel with her head up, she's not driving anywhere, she's looking up, because I was there all the time when I was lawing her. And also stride. So Arrow started off, he got as the channels closed slowly, again it's all about slow progression, he got a nice, I don't even know what it's called. I don't know what it's called, but weave like that, as you do. 2-foot stride. And now he's getting faster with paddles. But Ethel, often, when she's weaving, she's retired now obviously, but she would bash herself on the poles as she did it. She never got a very good stride. She'd get a stride wrong and bash herself and have to correct, and it all, it just all adds milliseconds up that are important, and also can't be very comfortable for her when she's bashing into the weaves, bless her. So yeah, I've just noticed that channels, I've never tried what is it? What's it called? The 2, where you just do 2. I'm so bad on her. The 2 weaves. I've never tried that. So 2v2 or something like that. Yeah. Never tried that, so can't comment on that. I've only either done lawing with Earl and Ethel, or channels with Arrow, and channels all the way, because Arrow's weaves are phenomenal now. And I just think and you can start earlier with channels as well, so you can have them wide open, and you can start with them nice, and you can start them earlier because all they have to do is run through it. And then another thing is Ethel was never brilliant with her weave entries. I couldn't send her to a weave entry, she'd miss the first one, she'd just spin and look at me. Luckily I am a fastish runner, and Ethel's not the fastest dog, so I could always be right next to her, like, at tunnel entries. I'd, like, be there to show her. So in the weaves, with her, it wasn't too much of an issue. But if I had to be at every weave entry with Arrow to show him, it'd just not work out, would it? They have to be independent. So yeah, channels for independence, channels for drive, channels for entries. Arrow's entries are brilliant. He knows exactly where he's going most of the time. Which Ethel always struggled with. So yeah, I would recommend channels. Again, I'm not the one to ask about the 2x2, I think that's it, 2x2 method, because I've never tried it. I'm sure it's great. Again, you'll have to ask someone else about that, but in my experience, I would say channels. Definitely over everything over lawing anyway. So number 6, this is a good one. What did being on Team GB teach you? What didn't it? Honestly, those 3 years were the best of my life. Like, I absolutely loved those years. Not just the trips either, like the build-up, the training, just everything. I just loved it. Like, being part of that team, it made me. So the first one is nerve regulation. So that sounds like scientific, but that's not what I mean. So, like, regulating your nerves, getting used to being nervous, feeling that, in your stomach before you run, before the tryouts, when you're waiting for the email to tell you if you're on the team, Yeah, so being on Team GB, every single run for Team GB was a big deal, like tryouts, the actual event, performance weekend, do you get what I mean? Like, it was all, you're being watched, do you get what I mean? So it is important. So, yeah, I was forced to just cope with feeling nervous and like that sick, I'm nervous feeling that when you get the dry mouth before you run, when you're that nervous, especially as a young person. So it really taught me to regulate that, and now I can go in and be nervous but control it, if that makes sense, which I'll do, which is a whole nother episode, like dealing with worrying, and being nervous in your runs and stuff. But it taught me to just deal with my nerves. Again, a bit like I was saying about Ara's nervousness earlier. Same with me, my nervousness, push through it, do it again and again, repeat. And also another thing, the more big events you do, like Team GB, even things like back, if you've done UK Grand Finals, I have never done it, but it looks like a big event, like back, lots of audience, commentating, stuff like that. OJAC I did as well. The more big events like that you do, the less you get nervous at the smaller shows, like the weekly shows. So your nerves just lessen when it's, do you know what I mean? So, and these adult handlers, well, not even all adults, some of them are young, but in Crufts main arena and Olympia, I haven't even done that yet. So the nerves when I do that for the first time, I know will just come up naturally, but then if I do it a few more years, it'll get less, and then, like the more you do, the less anything below that bothers you, if that makes sense. So it's really taught me to just get used to that nervous feeling, really, and it's important when you're competing in a sport you care about and you train hard at and means a lot to you. You have to get used to feeling nervous, accepting that feeling, but being able to work through it anyway, not letting it affect your performance. But yeah, that's a whole new episode. A whole nother episode for another time. But it's also taught me to have confidence in my preparation and in my skills, and my dog skills. So when you get onto Team GB, there's a lot of training days, performance weekends, stuff like that. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. You work with your teammates, and you get things to work on at home and everything. And then you do your best preparing and building on yours and your dog's skills for the event. You do courses by the judges that are going to be judging at the event. You do all you can, your mindset work, your everything, presentations they hold. And then once you actually get to the event, you stood on the start line and it's all in this 30-second run, few 30-second runs through that weekend. So it's taught me to have confidence in my preparation and my ability and my dog's ability. So standing there thinking I've done everything I can now to prepare and work on my skills. I've literally done everything this course is going to throw at me. I've practiced it, I've worked through it, I know I can do everything. Like, it's that you need confidence. If you're confident you can do something, chances are you can do it. So that is a big one. It's taught me teamwork and decision making. So, for example, in your little teams it was 4 for me with Ethel. So there's 4 of us on the small team, in each small team. So 8 of us, but we were in groups of 4 for the team event. We had to decide, who's going to go first, second, third, fourth for best results. As far as speed of dog, consistency, stuff like that. Decision making, how to handle the courses at this top level, like they're difficult courses with skills. I have to decide. Obviously, there's tapering for the dog, so a little bit before the event, a few weeks, months, whatever you want to do, do I do this show 3 weeks before the event? Is it that important, or do I just taper now? And just decision-making like that, like working out what's best for you and your dog, and it's different for everyone, it really is, but the more you get to learn your partnership and you learn to make decisions that are sensible for you both. So it's taught me that. And then lastly, this is really cliche and a bit cringy, but enjoy the moment before it becomes a memory. Aw, cute. But it really has. Those 3 years have been 3 of the best years of my life so far. The peaks of my agility career, I reckon. You don't get any higher than that. I think, what was I in 2017? 5 years ago. I can't do maths. I was 16, so my first year of Team GB I was 16, and just doing something to that extent at that age is something else. Like, it just sets you up, and there's so much you have to deal with, but you learn so much from it. But the friends I made, the memories, it was like a holiday, and it's over before you know it. Like, not a holiday as in, just chill out the whole time, obviously, but it's, going to a different country with your dog, competing, seeing all your friends, spending the weekend there, doing things in the evening, activities, meeting the other countries. It's like unreal, it's surreal, and it just flies by so fast. Like, now I'm 21, I'm 3 years out of being able to be on the junior teams because I'm old now, and they're memories now. Like, I'm not going to get that time back, so it's taught me those are precious moments, and I'm glad I enjoyed them in the moment because they're over so fast. Like, those things you build up so long to EOJ, and it's over in like a week, less, 4 days. So yeah, that is a big one. Okay, next question. Plans for Ari's agility career. So I don't really know what this means. Like, I'm going to take it as goals, because plans, I don't, for now, just keep working on his confidence, his seesaw, his confidence on the seesaw, his confidence in general. Keep and until I've got that, just literally focus on that, and whatever else comes at the moment is a bonus. That is my attitude generally. But once that's sorted, or more sorted, because it's never fully sorted, it's a constant work in progress, but obviously get him up the grades, and then obviously when he's in like 6, 7, I would love to take him in the main arena at Crufts. That's one of my big goals with him. Olympia, that's another massive goal of mine with him. Adult Agility Team GB, probably the top goal with him. And again, another top goal, champion status, but first obviously making champ finals, getting tickets, stuff like that. So that's sort of his big long-term goals. But for now, my plan is just to keep working on his confidence. At the moment, big goal, big thing we're working on is the seesaw, is start line confidence, just things like that. So as far as plans go, that's all I'm planning on at the moment. I haven't thought too far ahead, but those are the big goals that I want to achieve with him in the future. So 8, what breed would you get next? Simple as that, another working Cocker Spaniel. I love them so much. And it's funny because even though Arrow's been so difficult, I wouldn't change it for the world, and I would have another working Cocker Spaniel. I love his drive. I love his character, his attitude, you know, like, there's nothing I don't love about him. Like, he's just brilliant. You know, I love his looks. I love how working Cocker Spaniels move, you know, their coat, the way they stand, their build, their structure, not just the agility, just everything about them, their ears. Oh, I love them so much. And, yeah, I think as far as my next puppy, I would like another working Cocker. I already have the name for my next dog, but I'm not going to give it away because you know what it's like for name scarcity in the agility community. But I have that name and I am obsessed, and I'll be so upset if someone thinks of it before I get my next puppy. But yeah, I'm thinking a working Cocker, and I'm thinking maybe a girl this time, just to I'm all about trying things, like I said earlier with the borders. I've been there, done that almost now with the borders. Like, I don't think they have anything more to teach me, and I have nothing more, do you know what I mean, to do with them in that sense. So I think, yes, I've had Arrows, a working Cocker, but I love them so much, but I think the way to get a new experience from them is to get a girl. So I would love to see the difference between a girl and a boy working Cocker, because Ethel and Earl are so different. They're the same breed, but they're different genders. And Earl is so much more like Arrow in the sense that they're nervous and scared, you know, sort of chilled, nervous. Ethel, however, is feisty, not scared of anything. Like, she is just a beast. So I'm thinking, oh, combine Ethel's, like, fearlessness and Arrow's spanielness. Maybe. I don't know if it works like that. Again, you don't know until you try. But yeah, a girl working Cocker, and there's some incredible ones. I mean, there's incredible everything. That's the thing. You've got to go with, you can't just base it on agility performance. You've got to go with what you want out of a dog and what, you know, your personal goals and just what you like in a dog. So yeah, potentially a girl working Cocker Spaniel, maybe another boy, who knows. But yeah, at the moment, I'm thinking working Cockers all the way. I'm a bit obsessed, if you can't already tell. Anyway. Number 9, where would you like to be in 5 years? Brilliant question. So I can't give loads of this away because there's stuff in the works that I just don't want to, like, tell everyone all my plans, because, you know, you just don't, do you? But in 5 years, I want to have my own successful business, which I'm trying to start now with. Well, this podcast is part of it, but there's another major part of it that I'm working on behind the scenes now, and that should be coming December, New Year time, so it'll be here for the New Year, I'm hoping. But that, I want to be up and running with that and successful at it in 5 years, hopefully. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Follow me everywhere to keep updated with that. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all the things. Paws in Pursuit, Summer Clark. Keep updated because that is going to be exciting. But that is, I'd like to be successful with what's to come in 5 years, which you'll find out soon. In 5 years, I would like to, well, Arrow will be 8, so either competing with him at the highest level still, hopefully, he's still in tip-top condition, he'll be Ethel's age. I know I've retired Ethel, but I'm hoping Arrow's still going at that point. So yeah, either competing him at high level still, or, you know, I have competed him at high level and achieved my goals with him. And then potentially on my way to a puppy, again, depending on where Arrow's at with in his agility career. So yeah, they're all the things I'm thinking of at the moment. I don't want kids. I'm not, like, fussed about. All I'm thinking about at the moment is business and dogs. Like, my main life goals at the moment are my business and my agility career. So they're my 2 focuses, and that's what I'd like to be doing with those in 5 years. There's something else as well that kind of ties into business that I'm planning. There's lots of different avenues in this business idea, but I don't want to give them away yet. But stay tuned and you will find out shortly. So number 10, do you have a favourite out of the trio? I love this. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm just going to have to say it, aren't I? This is a brutal question, but it's so juicy, I love it. I'm gonna have to say Arrow. I can't help it. Like, Earl has a special place in my heart. He's my first dog. He's my heart dog. He will always be my best. Like, he's just my dog. Like, he's just my dog. Can't talk. He's just my boy. Like, he's my first dog. I owe everything to him. Ethel, she kick-started my agility career properly, really. Like, I achieved more than I've ever achieved in anything with Ethel in agility. So she'll have a special she has a special place in my heart for that reason. But Arrow, just as far as just a dog goes, like just a dog in the character of the dog, it's got to be Arrow. Like, agility aside, just Arrow, like his character, I'm obsessed with him as a dog. He's like a little human. He's just different to the terriers. He's got a different way about him. He follows me everywhere. You know, Ethel's here, yes, but little secret, she was here before I was. She was laid here. I came to podcast. I sat next to her. Arrow follows me everywhere. He's not here right now because he'd just be causing carnage. He can't sit still when I'm like this. So he's in the kitchen, but he will be waiting. He'll be at the door, like, waiting for me when I get back. Like, he just loves me so much, and it's that I feel like I have a stronger connection, like, psychically almost with him than the terriers. I don't know. There's just something about him and his character and his attitude and just the way he looks at me and the way he responds to me, and he's just got to be my favourite. So I'm proud of myself for being brutally honest and answering that question honestly, instead of being like, oh, I couldn't decide. This is an honest podcast. You're going to hear my honest opinions, and yeah, so got to be Arrow. Moving swiftly on. 11. Do you plan on breeding your own agility line dogs? And if so, what breeds? What breed or breeds? So not at the moment, that is not in the pipelines. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. A few people have asked me if I plan on breeding from Arrow, and again, at the moment, no, I haven't thought about it. Again, I would like to do more research myself on breeding, because with Arrow at the moment, he's very hormonal, if you know what I mean, like in the boy sense, if you know what I mean. Don't want to get too into it because, you know, gonna be on YouTube, don't want it to be inappropriate. But, yeah, he's just a boy at the moment, you know, doing those things, peeing up everything, getting a bit grumbly, you know, quite distracted in a sense, hormonally. So I would love to know whether breeding from a male dog makes them more like that, like they get a taste for it so they want more of it, or whether it gets the urge out of them and calms them down. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna keep him entire because it changed Earl and made him more nervous when we got Earl neutered, and I'm not having that with Arrow. He's already nervous, so he's staying entire. But I haven't really, at the moment, no. Obviously, I'd have to get permission from his breeder anyway if I thought about it. So no, I've not really thought about it at the moment. But as far as my own agility line dogs, same thing. I haven't thought about doing that, but never say never. Maybe one day I just need to be way more clued up, to be honest. Like, I would never do anything like that without being, like, top knowledge about it. But if I was ever to, again, it'd probably end up being working Cocker Spaniels because I'm obsessed. And I would want knowledge about the breed. Like, agility line dogs, you know, if you're going to be a breeder, you need to know a lot about your breed, basically, and I don't know anything about other breeds like I do Spaniels now. I've researched about Arrow, you know, I won't breed agility line border terriers, but I know more about them than other breeds, you know, so you need to know your breed, but I'm not in a position at the moment to do that, or, you know, I'm not really thinking about that at the moment, but again, never say never, but I'd want to be a lot more clued up. So, 12, we're getting through them now, look. What breeds would you like to have in the future? Any more border terriers, or maybe a border collie? As I've said before, no more border terriers, until I'm like really old, and then I'd probably have a little one. But again, more working cockers, as I've already covered. I would like a border collie one day, just to experience them. Like, but again, I think when I have moved out, I've got more land, more time, potentially. You know, God, sorry. But yeah, I would like a collie one day. I would like a medium collie, I think. But again, you can't really say that, can you? Because you just never know. But a medium collie does sound cool. I prefer my little-ish dogs. So that's I wouldn't want a massive one, because I just like my little dogs. Like, Arrow's the biggest dog I've ever had and dealt with, and I love him. Like, any bigger, I don't know, I just like my little dogs. Hang on a sec. Oh, my throat's in the bin, right. Another breed I've seen and thought, wow, awesome, is Mini American Shepherds. They look sound, like they look amazing. I love the look of them. They're so driven and fast. They just look like really cool little characters. So potentially one of those one day. But again, none of these without a lot of research and probably a different lifestyle. So obviously I'm living at home at the moment, not got the most land. So we're thinking very hypothetical future here. And then crosses that I'd have, I thought I'd do a little bit on crosses. Border Collie Poodles, they're awesome. I love those. I would have one of those. And even more so, Border Collie Working Cocker Spaniel. Those are my two top crosses. If I was going to have one, I'd probably go Border Collie Working Cocker first because you know my obsession with Working Cockers. I'm probably more inclined to get a Collie Cocker than just a Collie, actually. But yeah, potentials for the future, there you go. Number 13, would you ever dabble in other dog sports, and if so, which ones? I love this question. So, my first point is maybe dabble, yes, but never like, I like just having one focus as far as this goes. Like, I believe that if you want to be the best at something, you've got to put everything into that one thing. So for me, that's agility. Everything I do is, like, even my fitness, everything I do in my life is based around agility. I work to pay for agility. I keep fit for agility. Obviously, there's enjoyment and aspects around that, and, you know, I want money to go out at night with my friends and stuff like that too, but everything is mainly, agility is my top priority in life, and it is in the forefront of my mind with most things that I do. I love it. It's my passion. So I would never take up another sport seriously on top of agility because I could never put my all into agility then. Like, I'd have to give a little bit of that to the other sport. And it'd only be a little bit, so I could never be put much into that new sport, do you know what I mean? So, but for just purely, just for fun, I would love to do canicross. I love running, as you know, I just run for fun. And fitness, you know, I usually do 1 or 2 runs a week. It's not my main focus, but I do like 5k runs, I've done 10k. I'm thinking of training for a 10k run around the area that I live in next October. So I do love running, and Arrow loves running. So if I got the proper kit, then we could run together, and I just think that'd be really cool. You know, do some races and stuff like that. Only thing is, Arrow has no spatial awareness, like when he's just running, like on a walk. Like in agility he does. But if he was just running, he'd just, like, smell something and be like... And I'd just go on the floor and just go flying. So that's the only thing I'm worried about. And also, when I'm running, I like to concentrate on my form, my pace, stuff like that. Which, if I had an Arrow there, I feel like I'd be very distracted. It'd just be strange. But I would like to try it. I would definitely like to try it, but again... And even that, I don't want to overdo Arrow. Like, I don't want to put too much on his plate. Like, he gets his runs in a day just to explore on a walk with me in the woods, and his agility training I do a little bit every day. So I wouldn't want to overdo him. You know, he's not really. He's still quite young, and so I don't want to put too much on either of our plates really. But yeah, canicross sounds really fun. Like, I would love to do that. I actually used to do freestyle heel work to music with Earl. I never competed, but I did training classes for a while. That was really fun because, like, Earl knows so many tricks. I taught him so many tricks, like jumping through my arms, on my back, stuff like that. Foot stall, I love that. But yeah, heel work to music, it looks really fun. I love watching it at Crufts and stuff. So yeah, I would dabble in freestyle to music. And I just think that's so impressive. Like, how... I know people say it about how do we remember agility courses, but how do people remember a whole song's worth of dog tricks to the beat? And what happens if you, like, get slightly off the beat? It's so impressive. It's so impressive, and it lasts like a whole song. It lasts like 3-4 minutes. My memory. Oh, I would like to try it. Shall I do that? Shall I try and put a routine together with Arrow? A heel work to a freestyle to music routine. Give me a year. So yeah, those are the 2 main things that I would like potentially dabble in. Okay. 14. You've had such a good year with Arrow. Thank you so much. What do you think has been the key to your success? I love this question. And there isn't just one key. So, the first key is perseverance, and I think this is the main thing. Like, the amount of times I could have just given up because it's so draining and so hard work and such a challenge with Arrow, like all the issues I've had with him. But I persevered and I broke out the other side. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and I just went through the tunnel, the dark, dark tunnel, for so long until I got there. And without perseverance, I wouldn't have had all this. No way, no way. I would have just given up before I'd got to it. So that is the main key, just keep going. Training regularly is another one. Again, it's just simple, isn't it? Like, even sports with people, you have to train it to get better at something. You have to practice. Practice makes perfect. If you stop using a muscle, not just a muscle, but like if you stop practicing a skill, you will eventually lose the skill or get worse at the skill, or you need to keep practicing something to keep it in your toolbox, if that makes sense. So I train Arrow every week. I do a group class once a week. I do like a few seesaws in the garden every day, or say if I'm working on weaves, like a few sets of weaves. I'm literally talking like 3 or 4, just to keep that in his head, keep it in my head, and we love it. We wouldn't do it if we did. We want to go out and train, and then often I'll do one more training session. At Lucy's field I hire a week, but at the moment we've just moved indoors because it's the winter and it's been raining like constantly for the past like month. So the outdoors like just soaked, so I haven't been able to do that. But in the summer I was doing a session there as well, individually, just by myself. So yeah, train regularly. Just keep working at it. Without regular training, there's no way I would have had success, because we just wouldn't have got good at anything, basically. Learning as much as possible. So this is all on me. So when you're interested in something, like I am in agility, you want to learn more about it. So you listen to trainers, you research, you follow people on social media who are better than you. Better than me. I mean like more knowledgeable and experienced than you, and you learn from them. You take that knowledge, so it's yours. And like handling, you just learn as much as you can and put it into practice. So I learned everything I could about dealing with a nervous dog, new handling manoeuvres, handling a faster dog. You just learn through it all. You just learn with experience, you learn by researching, and you put it into practice, and it either works or it doesn't. You learn what works for you, you do more of that, you get the success. That's what it is. I'm going to leave this one to last. So another one is, that's the last one. So experience, second to last point of this question. You just naturally get more experience. Like, I've been doing agility since I was 9, 10. So I've been doing it for 11 years. You learn a lot in 11 years. So my success in my 11th year, obviously, is going to be a lot greater than the success I've had in previous years. So again, just keep going, keep working on it, and you will get success from that. Like, it's inevitable. If you put your everything in something and you dedicate your life to something, you will get the success from it. So my experience has inevitably given me more success. And then the last point for this question, which I think is important, is this is the most important thing ever, by the way. A strong relationship with Arrow. That is it. That is our success. Like, if you don't have a strong relationship with the dog you're doing agility with, or just living with in general, you're not going to have that connection. Like, in agility, if you're not, you have to be almost psychically connected to your dog. You have to read each other. You have to work together. You're a team. Like, it's neither of you, it's both of you. It's 50-50 always. So if you don't have a strong relationship with your dog, you're just going to fall apart on the course. Like, you can't do something as complex as agility if you don't have a good relationship with that dog. Like, it's going to be harder. So the main key to mine and Arrow's success, in my opinion, is my relationship with him. Like, when I got him, I spent the first few months of having him, when he was a puppy at least, sat there on the kitchen floor with him. My bum was cold. It was hard. I was uncomfortable. My bum went numb on every day. But I sat there and I bonded with him, and I cuddled him and I talked to him and I taught him little tricks, and I just built that relationship with him. Like, now he's just my little shadow. We're like joined at the hip, and I think that is the biggest key, that in my opinion, to the success. So, yeah, that is question 14. Right. I can't believe I've been recording for an hour, that's crazy. Okay, so we are on to question 15, I think. Yes, we are. So, question 15 is, do you have a family history in the dog world? Oh, can't read my own handwriting, there we go. And what did your parents think of letting you get Earl at such a young age? This is a great question. So no, I don't have any family history in the dog world. I am the first person to have this interest in dogs. It's completely original to me and my family. You know, I've got into it of my own accord. I don't know if that sentence made sense, you know what I mean, off my own back. And what did my parents think of letting me get Earl at such a young age? So, basically, I saved up for Earl from the age of about 6 or 7, I think. So, every bit of pocket money, every pound I got offered for like an ice cream from my nan or sweets or something, I put in my Earl fund. So I saved up every penny I could at that age from the pocket money I got for Earl. And I did not spend a single penny on anything else. No sweets, no ice cream, nothing. It was all for Earl. Because Earl was like, I think Earl was $450 at the time, which doesn't sound a lot now, but at that time in 2010, yeah, 2010 was a lot of money. And for me as a 7-year-old child, it was so much money. Like, it was so much money. So I just saved, and I proved how much I wanted Earl and how dedicated I was to getting this dog by doing that, and they were that impressed. I also cared for my stuffed dogs. So I had loads, but 2 favourite stuffed dogs that I would put a bowl of food down for them every day, water, I would groom them, I would take them in the car in their little harnesses, I would literally walk them around the street, leading collar, hanging them like this, walking around the street for hours. I was like strangling these 2 stuffed dogs to prove that I'd walk my dog every day, and I did that for years. I was obsessed. I really was obsessed. And saving my money and looking after these fake dogs just proved to my parents that, yeah, I was going to be obsessed with this dog if they let me have one. And then Earl came into my life. I'd also had previous pets, so I'd had goldfish, I had 2 guinea pigs. What else did I have? Yeah, that's it. I had my 2 guinea pigs. They were like my first pets. And I did love them. And I even enjoyed having the fish, but it wasn't the same as the dogs. But point is, I looked after those animals too, fed them, cleaned them, proved that I could look after a living animal. And also at the time, which is a little bit sad and a little bit deep, but I hated school, and I was in primary school, and I just hated it so much. And I've never had a massive group of friends. Like, I've never thought, yes, let's go to school and in my group of friends. Like, I had 2 or 3 friends. So I didn't really like school, you know. I think my parents could tell that this is what I wanted to dedicate my life to, was dogs. So, yeah, Earl came out of that, I suppose. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me, honestly. But yeah, it's completely new in my family. No one else had an interest in dogs at all. So yeah, that is the answer to that question. So we're on the second to last question. Okay, this has gone so fast, I cannot believe I've been talking for this long. But question 16, what other sports have you done? This is also a good question. So as you know, I love fitness and sports. I've always been really sporty. I did cross country for a while. I did that in secondary school, and I actually I represented Lincolnshire at cross country. I did loads of competitions in that. You know, I was never like the best of the best at cross country. You know, there was these tall, leggy girls, and I'm just like average, I suppose. But I was good at it. I think I came like 13th or something in the district or something, so it was quite good. I was good at it, but you know, it wasn't like what I wanted to do forever, if that makes sense. But yeah, I did cross country, and I still love running to this day, as you know. I did swimming for ages, to the point where I started to compete for my school. I think I did 1 competition, wasn't a massive fan. I've always done swimming lessons. Again, I got to the point where I wasn't quite built for it. You know, I was good at it for my age, and then as I got better, I got pushed up with the older kids and couldn't quite keep up, and I stopped enjoying it as such. But I still swim to this day. I swim at the gym that I've got a membership at, so I swim at least twice a week. I do really still love swimming, but yeah, I did that as a proper sport at one time too. I love how I'm having to look at this. I can't remember what sports I've done because it's all been agility for so long. Horse riding, this was a big one. I loved horse riding. I did that for so long. I think I started when I was 5, and then I stopped when I got ill because obviously lessons. I wanted all my sort of allowance money or whatever to go towards Earl, and dedicate it completely to the dogs. So yeah, I was actually, funny story, allergic to animals when I was younger. I would literally go to horse riding and come away sneezing, like my eyes were watering, hives everywhere. But to me it was worth it, because I was like, animals, I can't not. Obviously the guinea pigs lived outside, but when I hugged them I'd have to wear like gloves and like long sleeve shirts and stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, and then that's why we got border terriers actually. How could I not have mentioned that? Because they were hypoallergenic breed, so I wouldn't be allergic to him. And I was a little bit allergic to Earl to start with. I pretended I wasn't. When we went to see him, and I am now completely fine. I'm not allergic to any animals, so I think being exposed to dogs, having a dog in the house, I've grown out of it. It's sort of, again, exposure therapy, I suppose. I've been exposed to the dander and the fur, I suppose, and now I'm fine. But yeah, hang on, I've gone on a tangent. So yes, I did horse riding, that was the point. Kickboxing I did for a while. I got my white belt, and then I stopped doing that as well. Again, I was very young at the time, and the instructor was not aggressive, just a little bit scary for me. As again, I was like probably 6, 7, 8, whatever. Oh no, maybe I was older when I did that. No, I was probably about 12, but still, when I did that, it didn't last too long. I got my belt and then thought, yeah, I'm done, this isn't it either. And the first sport, it's a sport, dance I ever did was ballet, when I was like literally like 3, which again, not my cup of tea, is it? Like, it just screams not my cup of tea. It's not Summer's cup of tea at all, is it? But yeah, I did that for a while, so that was like my first discipline almost that I did. So yeah, there's a good 5 alternative sports that I've gone through my life doing until I found agility, and now I found agility, and that is the sport for me. So that is that question, and we are on the very last question, 68 minutes into the podcast. So this last question is, what are your interests outside of agility? Like, I really like this question to end off the podcast with, especially because even though agility is my entire life and I would never be without it, I also do have a lot of other avenues in my life that bring me joy, that I, pursue, that I enjoy doing in my free time. A lot of them I incorporate with the dogs and agility anyway, but I also believe that balancing agility with life in general, other aspects of life, other hobbies, other things that can bring you joy and make you feel good and confident, I think is important, which again will be a whole nother episode for another week of the podcast about balancing life and agility, because I think that's so important. But yes, my other interests are fitness mainly. As you probably know if you follow my Instagram, I'm very heavy on the fitness. I love it. I work out every single day in the morning. The gym. I go to the gym, I do weight training, I absolutely love it. It's unreal feeling. I love getting stronger. Running, as you know, again, runner's high is unbeatable. I do my 5Ks at the moment, and like I said, want to increase the distance again. I had a back injury a year ago that persisted. I think, again, you'll probably know if you follow my Instagram, that stopped me from running for like nearly a year, I think. But yes, I've got back into that. Obviously I can't do it at the moment because I've got a cold, which sucks, I really miss it. But running, love it. And swimming, I also swim a couple of times a week at the gym I go to. I do that was terrible. I do a lot of I like doing a lot of different types of fitness training, because I think if you just do one, it can make you more prone to injury. If I ran every day, that wouldn't be good for my joints. If I weight trained every day, that wouldn't be good for my not joints, anything too much of anything is not good. You want to moderate it, and I get different types of fitness from all my training. So gym, strength, running, cardio for my heart, swimming, a bit of everything, you know, low impact, stuff like that. So yeah, I love fitness. And to tie into that, nutrition. I love nutrition. I'm actually really interested in nutrition, and especially how it affects sports performance and fitness. As you know, again, from if you follow me on social media, I love making cool looking meals and all the colours and all the nutrients. I love food. I have a big old appetite and a large stomach capacity, so you'll probably see on my stories me devouring a lot of food. I just love my food. So fitness and nutrition, love that topic. Again, another podcast episode on that. And then I've always loved online content creation, and this ties in, but yes, online content creation. So I've always loved social media, so Instagram, making posts. Writing is another one. I always used to write books when I was little and print them out, use all my parents' ink. But yeah, I love writing. It was always usually about dogs, but you know, I did some articles for dog magazines like Your Dog and stuff like that. So I love writing. It is what I did the best at school doing. So my GCSEs, I got a 9, which is an A-star start in English language. So I absolutely love writing. And then finally, photography and videography. So I love taking pictures and videos, and obviously making videos like on iMovie. This is why I'm getting back into YouTube as well. I love making videos. Love it, love it, love it. So yeah, those are more of my interests, and I suppose they all tie in because online content creation goes with writing, videography and photography, and that is what I'm trying to push right now. I just love it. It's great. I've got my DSLR camera, and I know when I filmed on it last week for the podcast, it looked like it was literally videoed with my treat and train remote control dog treat dispenser. It was that appalling. But now I've got my GoPro. Anyway, but yeah, that all ties in together. And the fitness and nutrition, you know, what I'm trying to do is combine all my interests into sort of one, if that makes sense. So those are all my interests, but obviously agility and the dogs are the forefront of everything I do. But yes, achieving a balance is important, and those are my other interests. So that concludes the final question of the podcast. I cannot believe I've been talking for 1 hour and 12 minutes. That is absolutely insane. It's gone so fast and I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully you can tell I've kind of eased into it a bit. I feel more comfortable and natural speaking to the camera now than I did last week. But yeah, I think I've covered everything. I hope I've answered all your questions, and if there's anything else you want to talk to me about or hear from me, then feel free to DM me on Instagram, comment down below on YouTube, email me, anything. You know where to find me. But yeah, follow Instagram, YouTube and TikTok, Paws in Pursuit, and Facebook, Summer Ruby Clark, to keep up with everything we're doing. And I will speak to you next Wednesday. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!